Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving into a genuinely mind-bending academic briefing. It comes from Dr. Melvin Sewell over at the Cosmic University of Echo Rift Studies IX. You'll often hear it called CUIX for short. So think about this for a second. If you travel to a reality where the fundamental laws of physics completely change, how on earth do you keep your identity from just falling apart? Well, today, we're unpacking a concept called high-density SMI navigation to find out exactly how that works.
To help us navigate these pretty wild concepts, we're going to follow a four-part roadmap today. First up, the multiversal navigation hazard. Second, the SH-1 resonance anchor. Third, the two-factor telemetry protocol. And finally, the ultimate diagnostic frontier. But before we jump in, I want you to really consider this staggering problem. It's a hypothetical that completely pushes the boundaries of our understanding. If you travel to a reality where physics are totally altered, I'm talking gravity, electromagnetism, even basic molecular bonds just not working the way they do here, how do you actually remain you? How do you hold on to your identity when the very physical building blocks of your body literally no longer apply?
All right, let's get into Section 1, the multiversal navigational hazard.
So, the primary hazard in multiversal transit is something Dr. Sewell defines as structural collapse. Essentially, it's an anything-goes environment. Imagine trying to play a game of chess, right? But suddenly the board turns to liquid, and the rules are written in a completely made-up language. The friction of these totally foreign physical laws starts to literally fracture your core identity architecture. It's not just a physical threat. The universe simply doesn't have the framework to support your existence anymore, which results in this total dilution of your narrative stakes and your identity.
But to counter this, researchers use a framework called Structured Multiversal Interactions, or SMI for short. Rather than looking at the multiverse as this chaotic void of infinite randomness, SMI treats transient as a rigorous, calculable translation of data. So you weren't just magically popping into another world, you're translating your data across variable realities. And this whole process is carefully calibrated by something known as the Reality Level Scalar.
Which brings us to Section 2, the SH-1 resonance anchor.
Now, to make this work, we need a massive paradigm shift. Our physical geometry, our localized, fleshy human bodies, they just can't be the anchor. They're way too fragile for this. Instead, survival absolutely demands relying on a deformable metaphysical invariant known as SH-1 operational logic. We literally have to trade the physical for the philosophical if we want to survive the crossing. Crazy, right? Dr. Sewell actually sums this up perfectly. He states that SH-1 is, quote, an operational logic, an unbroken thread of philosophical continuity, and an identity architecture that transcends physical geometry. Your survival relies entirely on holding on to this unbroken thread. It's basically the core logic of exactly who you are, completely stripped of any physical dependence.
Practically speaking, this means your physical body might just dissolve entirely during transit. Yep, totally gone. But because of the SH-1 anchor, you don't actually die. In a hyperdense reality, you might end up expressing yourself as a pure mathematical ratio, or maybe a sovereign diagnostic frequency. It's kind of the ultimate cosmic downgrade in terms of having limbs, but you are still securely anchored as you. The medium of your existence just deforms to match the new reality.
Moving right along to Section 3, two-factor telemetry protocol.
So, how do we actually measure these jumps without just blindly guessing? Well, CUERS IX uses that reality level scalar we mentioned. They take the absolute ultimate informational density of a black hole and use that as a theoretical ceiling, the absolute maximum boundary of our continuum. It is so incredible to think of a black hole as merely a cosmic measuring stick for calculating reality scaling. But that's exactly what this SMI framework demands.
And mapping our way up to that black hole ceiling requires a really rigorous two-factor protocol. Step 1 is the cancellation zone, and Step 2 is the excess zone. By combining empirical observation with some seriously advanced quantum supercomputer simulations, researchers can plot a highly precise and, more importantly, safe course. Let's break down how these two steps actually play out.
Okay, so Step 1, the cancellation zone, is a brilliant piece of diagnostics. Researchers intersect the raw electromagnetic and gravitational frequencies from black holes with the peak data complexity of our own world, things like human neuroscience, and complex quantum mathematical models. Then they isolate the exact point where these waveforms just cancel each other out.
That nullification point is absolutely crucial. It tells us exactly how far we can stretch our reality before our cognitive architecture simply breaks. And that establishes our maximum safe step size for any multiversal jump.
But wait, what about the data that doesn't cancel out? Well, that brings us to step 2, the excess zone. Any of those unmeasurable, hyperdense waveforms that manage to escape cancellation are logged by a tool called the Reality Level Analyzer. Instead of treating these as immediate hazards, they're treated more like speculative breadcrumbs, and they help us chart a path toward even higher level, way more complex realities for future calibration.
And finally, Section 4, the ultimate diagnostic frontier.
When those speculative variables from the excess zone are fed into isolated quantum simulations, something really profound happens. The entire objective shifts. We stop caring about what happens to physical matter altogether. Instead, the Reality Level Analyzer evaluates whether the core logic of your SH-1 philosophy maintains its coherence when every single physical parameter is completely stripped away.
Honestly, the most empowering takeaway from this entire framework is this. If your core philosophy remains intact, you remain anchored. By relying on operational logic rather than our fragile physical geometry, the multiverse actually ceases to be this terrifying, chaotic void. It transforms into a structured, navigable ecosystem that's governed by your own sovereign truth.
So, as you consider the staggering depths of the multiverse today, I want to leave you with this ultimate diagnostic question to ponder. When your physical geometry is completely stripped away, and you're out there as nothing more than a conceptual ratio or a humming frequency, what truly remains of your identity to uphold your sovereign truth? Thanks so much for exploring this framework with me, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.